Hello everybody, this will be just a quick video on what it is to be an inadequate man. I've previously made some videos talking about inadequacy and how it's difficult to live being an inadequate man, not being able to attract women, being rejected by the opposite gender. What I found particularly frustrating is how we have to sculpt a life that is different from the lives of people who have more luck with women and people in general. Someone who's inadequate, we have to. For me, I'm living with my parents currently, and I noticed the stressors of being a man who doesn't fit into the social world and who women don't really find attractive. I mean, going down the mall to buy bread, you always notice in the line or in the shop, there's always an attractive woman beside you or next to you. And for a man like me, it's a frustrating thing to encounter because like immediately if you're like me and you've made like kind of peace with the fact that you can't really attract women, then and a woman shows up, it's like your biological, side is I want this woman, I think she's attractive, but you have to logically kind of, to tell yourself that, you don't stand a chance, you're not good enough, etc. And then eventually the logic takes over and you're just out and you feel like depressed and you want to kill yourself, right? But what I found the most frustrating is I think the fault can be attributed to three categories and three slices. First slice, I would say, is society. I think part of the fault is society's fault. It's society's telling us who we should like and who we shouldn't. It's society that inhibits certain wants and needs into the human population. If you look at the cosmetic industry online, like online and as well as everywhere, cosmetic flags are popping up. People who are attractive are, advertised. They are being used for adverts to make everybody else envious and jealous of what they could also become, but we also know this can't be achieved. I think if you're a man who just don't fit into the society, chances are if you're over 25 and you have never had a date or never even had a girlfriend, God forbid, you're going to struggle also with other things. Like, I feel that your quality of life is way less. Like, for me, living at home, I'm trying to usually just dodge women and avoid them. I'm trying my best to avoid people and get out of people's hair and respect them, but kind of just do my own thing. And I know what I'm good at, so I would say it's frustrating because it's like in you, deep inside you, you want to be with people. You want to have a chance and expect some. You want to expect to, for instance, meet a woman in your life. You want to believe that there's a chance that you can, but eventually it just becomes novelty. You can't believe it anymore because you've seen too much failure. You know that believing in proving a negative is just not something that you could believe in anymore. And it applies to women as well as to many other things, like proving fairies. Now, for me, it's like, to me, it would be proving a negative to try and make it believable to me that I will get a woman. I've been my whole life just been told how ugly I am and, how by women, especially who I liked, how ridiculously unattractive I am, how I look like this, how I look like that. And it eventually got me to a point where I just, don't want anything to do with women anymore. It's just like kind of, I had a classic problem of the women that were really unattractive throughout my life did like me. The women I found ugly or just unappealing, they were usually attracted to me. And the women that I found attracted to were never attracted to me. So I noticed, a very classic problem. It's probably again back to genetics. Women who are good looking will attract men. And it takes you, a toll of your life to realize the women you can and can't get. And then you eventually just settle with any woman because you realize you can't get the attractive women. But for me, I would rather not be with anybody than settling with someone second best or third best. The next thing I want to talk about is the living standards for someone who is rejected constantly. someone who is rejected have a very different expectation to life and have a very different outlook. I think there's a lot of pain in someone who's being socially inadequate. I mean, socially inadequate individuals are usually much more depressed. They're usually not very optimistic or not very high energy. And it really takes a toll on your body to be rejected by the masses and by people, being told that you're not good enough and being constantly bullied and picked on. You know, it does something to your life. It does something. It's also why, like me, who you had a life that once made sense. You had a life once that things were going smooth. Things were going, the tides were going well with you. You know, there were peaks and there were troughs, but the troughs were workable troughs. You could scale them again to be peaks. It's almost like you could even out the troughs. The bad things in life was workable, you could work, but then when you actually become an adult, there's so much things that goes wrong. For example, let's take a lonely, inadequate individual, someone who has problems interacting. Now, this is an unforgivable sin, unfortunately, because when you can't interact, when you're unattractive, you're a man, like you want to be with women too, and you realize one thing is the first thing that you know you can't get is women. You think that's all it is, but it's more than that. It's actually much more of a social and an interpersonal aspect than what other people tell you. I mean, if you can't attract women and you go out to a park, you notice a man with a woman. You notice if you're walking by, even if you're walking by, if you're walking by the park or you're walking by a beach, you notice one thing very particularly. I mean, if you're like me and you've walked by beaches always at home, you notice one thing very particularly. You notice there's always couples all around you. There's always people. There's always a man, and you can see in the far end there's a man, and there's a tall structure, and then there's a shorter structure just next to that man, or you think it's a man and it's a shorter structure. So that's got to be a couple then. You notice that as a single man, you're always noticing these things. You always notice that you are alone, and you notice all the couples around you. You notice all the people around you who have made it into the social norm, who have succeeded into the social norm. And you realize that, by George, you haven't made it. You haven't succeeded. And this puts even more depression on you. This puts even more stress on you when you go home that night and realize you really are a fucking idiot. You really are someone who's socially inhibited and unwanted sexually too. Um, I'm actually past the point of putting back punches, holding back punches because I realize I have inabilities. This is an inability. I have social inabilities. I have looks inabilities. And I'm an intelligent man, but my intelligence, being intelligent alone isn't going to make you happy. I'm trying to spend my time reading books. I read mainly philosophy. I find the allure of picking up a book and reading it and finding the wisdom in it. But then after a while, I want something more in my life. I want to meet someone too. And I know it's not never going to happen. I know that there's no chance in hell I can meet someone because of inadequacies. And it gets to that point where it's just not believable anymore. You just can't believe it rationally anymore. Like for me, I'm so far away that I can't rationally make myself believe and go out. I just know I'm going to get rejected. I just know that I'm going to get into a fight, or I'm going to get rejected, or a confrontation is going to occur. Because if everything have like this happen to you your whole life through, how else can you expect that not to happen again? Like, now there are these people who say to you that you should go out because it's your duty as a mammal to go out and mate or find friends. But we're also, the problem with this is we're also not animals completely because we have at least acknowledgeable free will that we can, it's obviously debatable, but we have acknowledgeable free will. We can acknowledge that we have indeed a choice, where animals don't have that mechanism in their brain. So this makes us quite different because we have the evolutionary advantage, the social and evolutionary advantage of having a mechanism that we can utilize to make decisions. almost like AI, where an animal don't have that. An animal cannot register its decisions the way humans can. They don't have the conscious ability to influence them the way humans can, whatever they may mean. And I can see when some things will work. Like I can see when my biological drives, even though they are drives, I can see when they are rational, and I can see when for example, I need to eat food and I need to drink water and have a roof over my head to survive. So I need food, water, and a roof. That's the three things that I will never debate about because I need them to survive. But if I'm too inadequate to find a mate, which I am, I can't keep lying to myself that I am adequate to find a mate. So I know that going out and trying another hand at this poker game of mate selection, well, I will inevitably lose like every other 5,000 chances I've took before. Like if I'm not, it just doesn't become believable that I will win anymore.